Hello there, YouTube. We are back with some of the fellas. Today I am joined by the bald gnome with the dome, TJ.
Oh, banana.
Banana. And I'm joined by our local judge, jury, executioner, and soon to be Gundam extraordinaire, Jarrell. Right there, buddy?
Cough again?
But before we hop into the video itself, thank you to our members. We appreciate every one of you. We're switching up a little bit this week, just with some mild schedule changes. So this should be going live to the public on Wednesday. But for those of you who are members, we appreciate you all. This goes up a little early, so enjoy. But today we are going to be doing a little bit more of a formal breakdown / going over the official sort of reasoning of the recent ban and restricted list. We did an initial literally moment of reaction video when the list dropped over the weekend. So if you wanted our raw reaction to it, check that video out. I'll link it in the video description. But today's video is really going to be going over the official reasoning, which I think is always cool to do. Thanks to Jarrell for kind of bringing this idea up to us today. Because it is neat to see what the devs have been putting out there in terms of their official reasoning of why they did what they did. And to also just throw the discussion out there, see if we agree or not. I know a lot of fellow content creators have also done them. So DigiDane, I think, released his DigiDread. So check him out and support the fellow creators out there. But without further ado, let us kind of just hop right into the first one, which is sort of what everybody was expecting. I don't think this was a huge surprise by any means. EX5, Sayo, and Co. I'll read over the official reading here. So it says, by combining effects that activate at the start of the opponent's turn with effects that increase your memory, it is possible to quickly end an opponent's turn. Therefore, we determined that repeating this move negatively affects the game, and we previously decided to make the banned pairs shown here, which I will go down to in a quick second. And then, however, due to the increases in the card pool, repeating this move will be possible with combinations other than these banned pairs. Therefore, we've determined that it won't be possible to use banned pairs to restrict this move. And for the above reasons, we decided to ban this card. So they're talking about Promo Zubamon, Keenan Crier from BT13, and... Oh, wait. No, sorry. No, that's... I apologize. These are the other... What's this card be? Starter deck 16 mesh. That's the... Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I'm tripping. Yeah. I was right. Yeah. Those are the Pan Bears. But overall, the card just got flat out banned, which I think is very fair.
Yeah, we saw this one coming. It kept on creating memory loops. Even just after this, BT21, we had two other loops that got created. That sure they weren't easy to do consistently or anything, but just the fact that they existed and that this card can still just keep offering those lines of play. There's no surprise there, and I think their reasoning is pretty solid. They basically they tried to keep it restricted in a way because the card itself within a box within its own archetype is not crazy, but the second you start mixing it with other things, it just starts getting out of hand.
Yeah, it was a good way to I wouldn't even say this really affects Galaxy in any way. I think it really just is more of just a future-proofing mechanism for the game so that you don't have these kind of maybe not necessarily meta-defining, but just really annoying and kind of dumb game breaks that you see. I think it's a fair call. I don't have any other disagreements there, unless Jarrell, you have anything there to add? Next, we are moving all to the restricted cards. Again, not surprised here. I think the sort of brevity of the explanation kind of goes in hand with this. So Gravity Crush from BT1. When this card is used in red decks that have greater attack abilities, aka Magidra, it is possible to win a game at quicker speeds than anticipated. As a result, the gap between attacker decks that can use this card and decks that can't use it has widened, and for the above reasons, we have decided to restrict this card to 1 copy. I think that's probably the best way to summarize it.
Yeah, Agreed. I don't think there's anything else to say. We all knew it was coming. It had to go. The game's just gotten too fast for these memory like options, zero cost memory options.
Speaking of, we see parabolic junk. The explanation that they have there pretty much mirrors what we have with Gravity Crush, outside of, again, a little bit of future proofing as well. I mean, we've seen decks like Abido have the potentiality to use this card, although not to like as great of an effect or efficacy as like Gravity Crush had been used. But with how Black likes to play, I guess, as an archetype, I mean, it's definitely one of those cards where like it can get really crazy in the right scenario, and they're just kind of nipping it in the butt before it gets too crazy.
I mean, their reasoning, right, that this card has zero cost and can gain memory regardless of opponent's status, limiting designs for future cards. For the above reasons, we decided to restrict this card to one copy. I mean, that says enough right there. Like, it's just, it's another zero cost memory option that they have to design around. That means that whenever they're making black cards, they have to keep that card in mind. Like, will it get broken with this now? Because we've already seen it. We've already seen all these other zero cost memory options get abused heavily.
Which, to kind of spend a little bit of time on this one, maybe not a lot of time, but like, curiously enough, I don't understand. If they're going to do this to parabolic junk, why not hit Tropical Venom?
I think the reason that we talked about before with Tropical Venom is that it requires your opponent to be more interactive with you in the game, right? Let me read what Tropical Venom does for my own notification. Main, one of your opponent's Digimon gains on deletion, lose 2 memory until the end of the next... Yeah, so it requires your opponent to have a Digimon on the board and, like, everything else. So, like, it requires interaction from opponents, whereas Parabolic Junk does not. If you put that on a card that can swing, and you know it's going to die, you can abuse it in that way. Or if you have a way to give it rush, or other weird means.
That's fair.
Right.
I'm just like, I get it. No, I get it. I don't disagree.
Yeah. That being said, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Tropical Venom get put on there eventually. But right. I do think the Tropical Venom is by far the most difficult to actually gain the memory off of because it requires interaction with the opponent. And it's not something that you can just do on your own or loop on your own in some weird way.
I do think a well-timed one, particularly in a deck like Zafaga, has the potentiality that if Zafaga
it has
gets
the potential
support,
to maybe do something, sure. But I think that, again, like, that's also cuts away into consistency for Zafaga, right? Like a lot of the green decks that would typically use
I mean, I'm
card,
just like spitballing, right? Because like it's an interesting point, right? Because I mean, at this point, we've had Hammer Spark hit, Jack Raid hit, Gravity Crush is now hit, Parabolic Junk is hit, Blinding Ray is hit. This is the Tropical Venom is the only one that has survived of these zero cost option cards from back in the day. Yeah. So it's just like a talking point, like an interesting talking point.
My assumption is that I think they're doing this partially because of things like Dark Knight, along with other cards that we're getting from the villain set. I think is part of the reason why they're doing this, because I think there's a lot of potential in there for those cards to use this to some greater effect.
But yeah, I think that pretty much does it for the memory options. Sort of self-explanatory, straightforward. Next up on the list was Royal Knights of the Purge. So when this card and a Royal Knights card with a powerful non-on-play effect are combined, aka Omni X, the win rate for Royal Knights decks is greater than expected, limiting the design options for non-on-play effects on Royal Knights cards. In addition, even though Royal Knights decks normally have trouble with beatdown decks, this affinity has been reversed with the significant return of security effects, making one copy of this card have great impact. Therefore, we have determined that we must correct this to a proper deck affinity. For the above reasons, decided to restrict this card to one copy. Thoughts? Because Jarrell, you played a decent amount of Royal Knights too.
I mean, yes, but it also wasn't like the meta Royal Knights.
True. Fair.
I think the thing with Purge is that it's used in every Royal Knights deck. Like, it doesn't matter whether it's meta or not. It's just its effect in general is just really strong generically to load stuff, right? And just get those bodies out for free later on.
Yep.
Even if it's not Omni X. I mean, like, it's like they said in the description, right? Like, they have to be careful of how they design other Royal Knights cards, because if they have too powerful of one attacking effects or something else, they can just get too crazy.
And on top of that
being said,
yeah,
I still personally, and maybe this is just like the annoyance in me, but I still personally would have liked to have seen Omeka hit.
Yeah, I guess speaking of Omeka, right? Like that was one card that you could also tuck with Royal Knights of the Purge as well, where like you could just tuck anything. So you could most often like Royal Knight, we would see the Royal Knight player just like tuck an Omeka off of the Purge effect as well, which is also really big gas for them too. That's a free Omeka in their stack essentially. Um, it's tough because I mean Omeka is the lifeline for Royal Knights essentially. Is a sort of that like safety blanket that can help kind of bring them back from the jaws of defeat. But yeah, no, I mean it's hard because I think you can always like theorize and like theoretically speak about a lot of things. I've done a little bit of testing, like even just tonight with Royal Knights at Purge with just one, and I definitely like felt it a lot more than I thought I was going to. So I mean, obviously early testing, early days, but like it definitely, I think, slows the deck down a decent amount without making it feel like it's considerably weaker. Like it's still very, very strong in its own right for multiple reasons, as we've seen with Royal
Yeah.
Knights before. But it does, I think, take it from that like one extra like step ahead of most decks and brings it back just a little bit.
To
I
be
still
fair,
think it's
Purge
going to be a
definitely-
very yeah.
I was gonna say, to be fair, Purge definitely did that whole like it caught them up a turn if they were behind, or it
Mhm.
could just accelerate them a turn if they were on
Right.
pace. Like,
So, I mean, I still think Royal Knights is going to be up there. It's one of the best decks in the format, but I think it brings the playing field level a little bit with this Purge hit. Other cards that people were talking about were like, or not Miraculous, the 4-cost
Last Guardian.
Last Guardian. Yeah, just for like keeping Omni X's on the board. But I think Purge just, I think of the two, I think Purge was the better choice to hit.
yeah, for sure. Because Last Guardian's super niche in that it
Mhm.
it only really supports like yeah you get search out of it, but it only really supports Omni past that, like Omni X.
Right.
Which, well, yes, he is like one of the big problem cards. I think hitting a card that's more generically helping the entire deck makes more sense.
Yeah, and I think their reasoning to kind of go back to the main point of this video, their reasoning I think makes sense, and I think it sounds like we all agree with what they're putting out here. Moving on. Burbs. Next time you're seeing Burbs is gonna be on your KFC platter. BT16 Garudamon X. Was hit. I think this was one of the more surprising ones, at least for me. I don't know about you fellas, but I was a little surprised to see Garuda.
I think
wasn't,
it's a
like-
card that we were gonna see eventually.
Right.
I
I wasn't
wasn't
expecting it
too
to be
shocked.
super soon, but I think after watching the Grand Asia Open and seeing how many people in JP were on sort of like the Gil Bird train, I think I can definitely see the reason why, because their reasoning here, right? One copy of this card has both an effect that gives rush and an effect that trashes security cards, making it very potent for reducing an opponent's security stack in Phoenix Mon X antibody decks, regardless of what engine you're running, whether it's straight up tribal birds or the Gil engine that we saw. With the current card pool, these effects can be easily activated in one turn, allowing one copy of the card to accelerate the game speed. For the above reasons, decided to restrict this card to one copy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think with Garuda X, like, it's a card that it has the potential to delete something, so it has like board control. It has security trashing. It gives rush. It can give rush to itself off of its own effect. Like it does so much for one card. Like, for example, like Birds was basically dead till it got this card in Phoenix X, right? Like those two cards alone put that deck on the map entirely.
Yeah.
Which just goes to show how powerful they are. And this card definitely was like probably the larger portion of that. Just in terms of like what everything you get out of it. It definitely died for Growloop's sins. But I think that it's a card that like anytime they were gonna give any sort of support to Phoenix Mon, they have to consider like what this guy can do, right? Like it's a card that could definitely like if it wasn't gonna get hit now, it was gonna get hit later, without a doubt.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, I think 100% spot on right there. Their explanations so far, I think, have been very reasonable. I think goes to show the quality of the list. EX3 Groundmon is our next one. Another, I think maybe at face value, a little bit more surprising, but I think the more you think about it, the more it makes sense. Their explanation here, as this card's name is Growlmon, and its inherit effect has security check +1, the attack abilities of Gallantmon decks are greater than expected. Therefore, we have determined that we must correct this to a proper deck speed. For the above reasons, decided to restrict this card to 1 copy. I mean, we saw this guy pretty much abused in, not abused, but like utilized in the Growl X engine as well, right? Being able to like pair this with things and just pop, get check +1 and do multiple checks is nasty.
They say Gallantmon decks, but they mean Megidramon decks.
Yeah.
Realistic. Gallantmon itself wasn't really running this guy unless you were running the Growl Loop engine in Gallant. So
that was my one nitpick about the explanation, was exactly that, which is that I feel like it was more of a Megidra / like Growl X deck as opposed to Gallant, because you never really use this guy.
Yeah. To be fair, it could just be a translation or just like a generic.
For
thing.
sure.
Like,
For sure.
just, like,
for sure.
Like this is like the main guy for this archetype typically.
Mm-hmm.
I think it makes sense. Like it does slow down their aggression a fair bit. I mean, I don't know how much it's really gonna hurt them because this guy wasn't even the main 4 of anyways. He was typically run at like 1 to 2.
2 max.
As it already was.
Yeah.
So I understand the hit. I don't think it really does anything. But yeah, so I understand their mentality, like where they can get the idea to hit this card. Like I get the reasoning, because I mean it's a level 4 that it can pop a floodgate, it can mill out your opponent, it gives sec +1 with the inheritables by deleting something. We're getting more purple cards that like to spit out bodies for free and stuff like that. Not really for red. It definitely won't really do it for Gallantmon decks. They'll do it for Megidra or like Cerberus engine stuff maybe. But I can get where their head was, but I think that because this card was already run at like that 1 to 2 of slot anyways for Megidra decks, I don't know if it's like going to be that impactful for them realistically.
Sure.
This is more of like a limits design type of idea, I think.
Sure. Fair thoughts. Moving on, we've got EX4 Guilmon. We don't really have to spend too much time on this guy, but their explanation is this card was originally intended for use in Gallantmon decks for recovery in the late game turns or for additional attacks, but due to increases in the card pool, it is now possible to set up successful attacks with Rush early in the game. As a result, the game speed has accelerated greater than anticipated, and this card limits the design options for future decks that include purple cards. For the above reasons, designed to restrict this card to 1 copy. It was just abused in Megidra. I think that's really essentially where it came from. Abused by Megidra, how quickly decks can mill. Even in Purple Hybrid, we saw this guy being used, right? Just to kind of throw things out there, but Megidra definitely just abused this little guy.
Yeah. With how fast purple decks build trash nowadays, I think it makes sense. Like the guard was just like, I know like the early in the game is a little bit maybe. I feel like that's maybe poor phrasing on their part because it's not usually super early, but like turn 3, turn 4, you can almost always have enough cards in trash, which is pretty early. It's early enough.
Which could be like a very minor translation error on their part too, so makes sense.
Yeah.
I think everybody expected that.
Yeah.
Talk about a card that maybe some people weren't necessarily expecting. EX1 Melga. Their reasoning here is with the increase of the card pool, this card's 1 Digivolving effect can be used repeatedly in a single turn, making it easy to gain a lot of memory. As a result, the potential designs of future Garurumon cards will be greatly narrowed. For this reason, decided to restrict it to 1 copy only in a deck. I get it.
What do they mean by repeatedly?
That was the one part I was gonna break, because it can be used repeatedly in a single turn.
Is there a way to use his? Can you evo him multiple times? Is there something I'm missing?
I am not quite sure about that.
I was gonna say, in theory, because you can spit out the level 5 in gas, right, with Alter S, it's usually the Sagittarius mode.
Oh, true. That's right.
Yeah,
that's what people were doing. That's what people were doing. I forgot that was the combo for gas. It wasn't you spitting out this guy. It was you spitting out Sagittarius, and then it saw the Blitzcrank get played out, so it would just go into another one of these guys. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why. That makes more sense. Okay, that's fair. I still think it's because I mean I know this one's controversial. That like a lot of people were saying like, oh well, gas hasn't really done anything or anything like that. But we haven't had much event time for us over here in the States for gas to do much. And in fairness to just Digi in general right now, Digi's been kind of like on a lull up until this list because we had Gundam coming out, Magic's been popping, like every other card game's going off crazy right now, right? So like even our locals have been a lot smaller. So we haven't had like enough of a player base, I think, to see how effective gas could really be. But we know it was starting to kind of do some crazy stuff over in JP, I think.
Mhm.
It was only a matter of time, especially if you hit the other cards on the on this list, right? If you're killing like the top like 3 decks or slowing them down significantly, but gas goes untouched, there's a chance that it could definitely be a problem. I think, especially with just how strong Alter S is.
Mhm.
And it's something like we said before, right? Where like anytime they have to keep it in mind for anytime they make Melgo support, anytime they make blue cards, it is tough that Melgo keeps getting just like shot. Like they can't figure out a good like design line
There's a
for
whole
Melga.
goddamn line for Gabu Melga that's been on the restricted.
Yeah.
You can make a whole line off of the cards that are
Yeah,
restricted
they
for
literally
this
he's
guy.
the only he's the only line in the game that has his full evolution line on the ban list. It is tough. I wish that they would just like figure out what they want to do with the deck, because they definitely don't know. They keep on trying different ideas and they make something broken on accident or something that's broken with other stuff.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think I agree with the hit to a degree. Because like you said, it makes me sad as a Melga boy to see this guy go, because he was definitely a good supplemental piece for the deck. But
Yeah, he was like the best Melga we had, because like it made it easy to get your X Anybody pieces and other stuff. Now it's just like really hard.
So, I mean, it's tough, but we'll see what happens. In terms of like addressing gas and the whole sort of shenanigans there, I was honestly for it. I think it was just because I played against it a few times and it was just kind of infuriating to play against, because once they hit the combo, you just kind of watch them play, you know?
You kind of just lose.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Which sucks if you're on the receiving end of it. And I think that's sort of been the theme with this entire list, right? Is that a lot of the like sort of the interaction, I think, is what they're trying to bring back a little bit more. And cards that abuse that memory gauge to the point where like you're extending turns almost way too long, I think is what they're trying to go for. And I think this card is very much in tandem with it. As sad as I am to see him go, I get it.
Yeah, it's a card that they can shoot that like it gets rid of the unintentional existent child and then doesn't like it doesn't like Melga can still play the game if they want to. Like they still have BT15 Melga and like other stuff.
Rest
like,
in peace to everybody who bought that card for like $30.
Yeah, a lot of people were on the line of buying this alt art and everything, and then it definitely caught a lot of people by surprise. I think if anything, I think that's why more people are mad about it than anything else. I think it's a lot of people that bought the card that were just like, oh no, which is like fair. I get it.
But moving on, kind of getting to the tail end of the list here, we've got BT19 Sakuya. Draw 2 in this card's when Digivolve effect was for using multicolor option cards in Sakuyamon decks, but it also increases the consistency of Digivolving into a level 7 Digimon. As a result, along with the EX2 Digivolution plugin S, which is down below, this card limits the options for future designs of level 7 Digimon that can Digivolve from yellow cards. For the above reasons, we decided to restrict this card to 1 copy, which essentially is the same explanation for Digivolution plugin S as well.
Yeah, we knew this was coming. We knew Sakuya had to get hit, not just for how strong it was and with what it could do and locking out the opponent, but in the fact that they have a starter deck coming out or an advanced deck coming out in December, and it's gonna make people want to get that advanced deck more, and hopefully it creates a more like a still good but more like balanced version of Sakuya that doesn't just like OTK and lock you out of the game at the same time.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought drawing 4 cards of a single Evo was okay?
yeah, it is crazy, dude. How much they give. Well, and that's why Sakuya could afford to run like the insane ratios it did. Right now, people are gonna have to try and run it a bit more consistently, which I prefer to see personally.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, I think again, just makes absolute sense here. Being able to like, I mean, we saw it way too many times, right? Evo into a Chaos, Valderarm, Evo into a Ruin mode for free, or like very minimal memory was just, it just was not fun to play against. And it, again, took away from a lot of the interaction or the clapback play that your opponent could do. Because Sakuya's main game plan, right, was to set up the big bodies. They can't respond, and you just win the next turn. And I think Digimon's definitely trying to get, at least the devs are trying to get away from that as best they can. Granted, the game has evolved to the point where we're seeing a lot more of that creep in. But I think they're doing their best to reel things in. And this list has so far been doing a very good job.
I think you...
Yeah.
I think you explained it best, where they're trying to bring back more like interaction.
Mhm.
I think that is literally the best explanation. Everything we've seen hit here has literally been cards that either extend turns to the point where there's no interaction, or they literally just shut off interaction entirely.
Right.
In certain ways.
And speaking of top ends, right, this is the banned pair. So essentially, if A is included in a deck, B is banned from being included in the deck as well. So here we have card A, which is Chaosmon Valder Arm from BT20. Very, very good top end card. We saw it abused a lot in Sakuya. And just a strong yellow card in general. The pair ban we're seeing it now is that if you have a Valder Arm in your deck, you cannot be running BT17 Talmon, EX8 Sakuyamon, X Antibody. So essentially you can't run it in Sakuya.
Right.
And if you are, please send me your list because that is impressive. But yeah, I mean, I think it just makes sense. Their explanation here, Sakuyamon decks have powerful moves that allow for Digivolving into a level 7 Digimon early in a game and for dominating the field. In particular, BT17 Talmon's inherited effect along with EX9 Sakuyamon X Antibodies, your turn effect, allow for Digivolving into BT20 Chaosmon Valder Arm while attacking, giving players the ability to quickly reduce opponents' security stacks while preventing them from making comeback plays. We determined that there aren't many decks that can counter this, and this harms the diversity of decks in the gameplay environment. For above reasons, yada yada, the pair ban is as such.
Yeah.
Probably the best explanation you could have there.
Yeah. I mean, we were saying it's funny that we saw the Worlds decks not even using this combo necessarily, though, but
True, yeah.
It was all Ruin mode Sakuya X stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's just 4 damage in a turn, potentially, usually 5 because of the rush token.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've done even a single chip, it's just like, what do you do?
Right. And I mean, we saw Valder just shut down decks like Royal Knights, right? Like Royal Knights is probably like overtaking Demon Lords as like the deck of answers in the format, right?
Yeah.
And if you take out a deck that is as like responsive as Royal Knights can be and just basically say, nope, sorry, you don't play, what else is going to have a response to it? You know?
Right. Yeah, it's very hard.
So yeah, I mean, I think, like we said before, like the explanations have been very spot on. I don't think we've hit a restriction sort of declaration that we disagree with, or we just don't really see the explanation for it. I think overall, at least personally, and fellas like chime in too, like if you feel differently, but like I thought the list was really good. I know there's been a lot of people out there who are like,
controversy.
This is kind of a crappy list. This is not a great list. It doesn't do anything. But I still kind of stand by it was a good list. I stand by that what needed to be hit got hit. And I do stand by the fact that like interaction was, I think, the key theme of what they were going for. And a lot of what we see here, while again, it doesn't shake up the meta like drastically, but it does make it so that you can like players who aren't playing the top decks can actually like play and have a response to certain plays.
Yeah. I know, like, I think one of the biggest controversies for this list is Growlix, right? Like that's the boogie, that's the elephant in the room. That's the boogeyman. Everyone was just like, all right, it's gone. It's gonna be gone. And it wasn't. Yeah. Even, and I'll be surprised. I'll be like, I'll be honest, I was surprised too. I thought it was actually gonna be dead. I think, and this is something I thought about more after the fact too. And we talked about it a little bit that night, but I think that their idea with not hitting Growlix was, for one, maybe to a lesser extent, they didn't want to hit Gallant necessarily, because Gallant is like, okay, it's good, but it's not like tier 0. I don't even know if I would necessarily put it tier 1 for that matter. I think like in its best case scenario it's tier 1, but it's probably typically closer to like a 1.5 scenario. Because it's just so bricky.
There's gonna be people who agree and disagree.
Oh, for sure. I know. But the biggest thing, and this is something for the people that maybe have seen this card but maybe haven't thought about this line of play. I think the idea was not so much that Growlix was abusing said cards. I think it's also the fact that said cards were abusing Growlix. Like if you do the flip on the mentality of it, I think that this list makes a lot more sense. Because a lot of these cards enable Growlix's effects to do more than they should do.
You mean the cards that are
like the cards that were Growl related? Yes, yeah. I figured that was a given. But yeah, to better clarify, the cards that are Growl loop related right? So like the KFC stuff that we saw, stuff with Rush Geel, stuff with EX2 or EX3 Growlmon, Grav Crush, like all those. I mean, Grav Crush was going to go one way or another, but all the other like Gallant related cards or like the Growloop related cards we were seeing, I think you can flip it and say, hey, Growloop wasn't abusing these cards. It was these cards were abusing Growloop in a way, or Growlex. Sorry.
Yep. Yep.
So maybe that helps you understand it a bit more. I think we'll, time will tell. We'll see what happens. I think they also like my third idea was that they just didn't want to hit another level 4x anybody card. like their second iteration of a level 4x anybody card, because they've done that to both Gray X and Guru X. But that being said, there's still a very real world where that card ends up on the ban list eventually anyways. So we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, that's fair.
But just to put that out there.
On the ban list.
Oh. What happened?
If they hit Alter S, that'd be crazy. He was saying next thing you know, Alter S will be on the ban list.
Yeah, who knows? No, but yeah, I mean, I think we've yapped a good amount. Kind of just going over things. I think overall we all can agree that at least we personally feel that the list did a good job. We'll see what turns out to be. We have one regional on the 6th, and then we have Cardfest on the 20th of September. So 2 big events coming up within the next few weeks. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye out for how things shape out to be with the meta and how this list shakes things up. So will be interesting times. And yeah, I mean, let us know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you agree with the list, if you agree with our takes, if you wish something got hit or something maybe even came off the list. There's a lot of different ways and different takes that you can have with it. So we would love to hear your thoughts. Hit us up on our Discord if you haven't already. Once again, thank you to all our members for doing what you do and supporting the channel. We appreciate every single one of you. If you're interested in becoming a member, the link on how to do that will be in the video description as well. So once again, appreciate you all who have chosen to do so, and appreciate all of you for considering it. But thank you for tuning in as always, and we hope to catch you on that next video. Bye-bye.